So iOS 17 is officially here, or at least the first developer beta. I have it on my iPhone 14 Pro here. You can see if I go into the settings, go to general, and then go to the about, I have iOS 17 right there, and this is the build number for the first developer beta. Because I got a lot of questions from most of you when it comes to what are the supported devices of iOS 17, are there any that are going to be dropped? And unfortunately, I have to let you know that there are 3 iPhones that iOS 17 leaves behind. This is the web page on Apple's site about iOS 17 preview, and if you go on this site, you get to see some of the new features and changes that it has to offer. And just closer, as you get down the page, you'll be able to see the supported devices of iOS 17. So you can see here that iOS 17 is compatible with the iPhone SE 2nd gen and later. So iPhone SE 3 is also supported. iPhone XR is also supported, as well as the XS series, the 11 series, and the 12, as well as the 13 and 14 iPhone series. Now, if we were to compare this with the previous update of iOS 16, I have them side by side here. So what you are seeing here on the left is iOS 16, and then what you are seeing here on the right is iOS 17. So you can see previously with iOS 16, we had the iPhone SE that was supported. So there is no change in that regard when it comes to the SE. But you can see previously with iOS 16, we had the iPhone 8 as well as the iPhone 8 Plus. Those devices were supported, and with iOS 17, you can see that it has been dropped. And one of my favorite iPhones of all time, the iPhone X, it was supported on the iOS 16 update that we got last year, but this year you can see the iPhone X is nowhere to be found on the list on the right hand side. So it's a bit unfortunate. 3 iPhones won't be getting iOS 17 when it comes out later in the fall. Hopefully this gives you a glimpse of what to expect, and if you are thinking of upgrading your iPhone or getting the latest software update, to know which devices are supported, as you can see right here on the page. Now, since iOS and iPadOS are brothers, I would like to show you and compare iPadOS 17 and iPadOS 16 that we got last year, as this year's iPadOS 17 version or software update drops 2 iPads behind. So if you go to the Apple site again and go to the preview of iPadOS, you'll be able to see here there's quite a number of new features and changes. And closer to the bottom of the page, you can see iPadOS 17 is compatible with these devices. And just to compare this, we'll go to iPadOS 16 page here on the left as well. So you can see here, previously on iPadOS 16, it supported all iPad Pro models, but then with iPadOS 17, it's dropped the first generation iPad Pro. So it's now iPad Pro 2nd gen and later for iPadOS 17. It's unfortunate. And then when it comes to the iPad Air, you can see before it used to be the 3rd gen and later, and right now it's still iPad Air 3rd gen and later. So that remains unchanged, which is a plus. And then for the iPad, unfortunately, you can see before we had the 5th generation iPad and later, and now with iPadOS or iPadOS 17, you can see here it's the 6th gen and later. So it drops 1 generation, and you can see the iPad mini, which is the last device we have here on the list. It was the 5th gen and later, and that remains unchanged here with iPadOS 17. This iPadOS 17 that has just been released to developers and later on that will be coming out to the public, to everyone, drops 2 generations of the iPad. That is the iPad 5th generation and the iPad Pro 1st generation. The iOS 17 software updates dropped 3 iPhones, and those are the iPhone 8, iPhone 8 Plus, and unfortunately the iPhone X, the first iPhone that went all screen. So that's about it for me. Do subscribe for more iOS and iPadOS, as well as WWDC, macOS, and watchOS updates that I will be covering here on the channel. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video.